ESPN Honolulu presents Call the Coach with University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior basketball coach Eran Ganot. Brought to you in part by HGEA, IBEW Local 1186, by the Hawaii Building and Construction Trades Council, and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union.
Good evening and welcome to our Monday edition of Call the Coach. I'm Bobby Curran along with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot, and Hawaii with a huge series this weekend against UCSB, coming off a sweep of Cal Poly. Eran, it's great to see you. We talked to you a little bit this morning and have a chance to go a little more in depth this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me on. As always, excited to talk some hoops.
You know, one of the things, and I've noticed the growth of this group, and I think you had kind of warned people, it's not going to happen all at once. They didn't have much practice time. It was forever, it seemed, until you guys could go 5-on-5. And right when you got started to do that, a couple of guys came up gimpy, and so they had to sort of recover physically. All your non-conference dropped out. You ended up playing only two, and they were the two local Division II schools. So you were a little behind the eight ball right from the start. I loved your expression. It sort of caught on nationwide, but you said, we'll just have to pivot. Pivot's the big word this year.
Yeah, no, and it feels like that every week. Like you play these games, you get to Sunday, and then here comes 3 tests a week again, and you're hoping again. It's us, it's the teams we're playing, it's the officials. We're just grateful for the opportunity to play, to continue to practice, and to continue to get better. So that's kind of it's just the nature of the deal right now. It's kind of a week-to-week thing.
I would have to think that maybe right now 2 of the hottest teams, especially after Irvine loses 1 of 2 against Cal State Bakersfield, so they've dropped to 6-2, and now UCSB has tied them at the top of the conference. So I'm kind of thinking, as I look around, that you guys, along with UCSB, you could say that you might be the 2 hottest teams in the conference right now.
Well, look, they've won 8 in a row and are coming off a bye week and have a lot. I know we talked about this morning. They have so many returners. The backcourt's really experienced. That's why I think they're 3-to-1 plus assist turnover ratio. They're shooting 50% from the field. They return a guy like Amadou Sow, who's an all-league player, now in his 3rd year. They bring 2 transfers, so they returned a lot. They got a transfer from Oregon inside. They got a transfer from Pacific on the perimeter. It's a great challenge, but as you know, you've heard me say over the years, the reward for winning big games is the opportunity to play in more big games, and that's what we're excited about.
Well, and these are 2 big ones, and they're going to be on the Stan Sheriff Center court, which is, I think, I don't know that you could call it home court advantage, but it's certainly familiar. You're in your own beds, and you have a chance. And certainly some of the guys, I look at Justin Webster, who, by the way, we need to congratulate because he was named Big West Player of the Week. Crazy what he did last week, 13 for 15 over 2 games. And what he averaged 19? I mean, that was a pretty good week for Jay Webb.
No question. Player that we had, Eddie obviously won it 3 times last year. We've had guys win the award. As you know, it always comes with team success. You better have a good weekend. We won 2 games. He played at a high level. I mean, as high level as you could nationally. You're talking about, it's not just 13 for 15. It's 8 for 9 from 3. That's hard to do, especially when teams are keen on you. Everybody knows who Justin Webster is, but he's as great a kid as we've had. He's really coachable, and he's a sophomore, and he'll be a sophomore next year. He's got a bright future.
We're going to have texting coming in as we go live. And so this text from Matt from Los Angeles. Coach, who has the most important defensive assignment versus UCSB?
Good question. I mean, obviously, I talked about So and their returning backcourt who playing well, but, Mcclanahan is playing right now. He's maybe the front runner for player of the year. So we have a good situation with their backcourt in terms of throwing different guys at him. Because you'll see Junior with his size, obviously Wally with his, full court pressure. We'll see him some. Webb will see him. Noel has really done a good job defensively because of his length and his strength. So I think we'll see, look at that a little bit as we get into practice this week. But it's nice to have different guys we can throw at those kind of players.
This is another interesting text. I suppose you ask 10 coaches, you might get at least five different answers. What is the most important trait in a point guard?
Great question. And I think it's basically your ability to run your team, your ability to organize. And I think we've had different point guards. I've said this over the years, coached some guys who've been Cousy Award finalists. And then we had here a guy like Roderick Bobbitt and a guy like Drew Buggs and Brock Steptoe. And I see the potential in our young guards now. They all do it in different ways, but the one common trait of all great point guards is their ability to run their team, their ability to command, a huddle and to make sure they're always organized. So that's, I think, the most important thing, that basically being an extension of your staff.
Someone who I think is really coming miles in a very short period of time has got to be Von Mcclanahan. I mean, his performance on Saturday, first half alone, 7 assists, no turnovers. That's just crazy. And when you think of where he was 5 or 6 weeks ago, it's night and day.
Yeah, the game's slowing down for him. He's starting to make the right reads. And again, he was a guy who missed 4 weeks. People don't realize that. And I think they're all playing well at different times, but together they're supporting each other well. They give different looks on both ends of the floor. And I think the next step for Javon, which will come, is shooting. I know he's a good shooter, and I think that will come. But it's nice to see him find other ways to impact the game. He's improved defensively. He's making, again, 7 assists, no turnovers. That was in the first half. He's over 2-1 as a first-year guy in our league.
And I think that's impressive because, in my opinion, certainly in this program, I think point guard's the toughest position to learn.
It's the toughest position. It's the most important position. And that's why sometimes you'll see us, other than last year because of the injuries, play them together. I think it's really hard late to press 2 point guard looks we got guys who can knock down free throws and organize your team, several ball handlers. So that's a luxury we've had over the years, other than last year because of injuries, but one we have as well this year.
Yeah, I must have been around you too long because I watch things and I start thinking of ways this team can improve instead of thinking and my father was guilty of this too. He never told you about the good things. Always it was about the things you can improve. I think you do a little better on handing out compliments, but I did notice that your 2-guard front. I mean, Keith Smith on the number 3 on Cal Poly sort of got wise to the 2-guard, and he was playing practically sideways and forced a couple of turnovers. It was like taking your guys a little while to figure out, especially when they went to the zone.
Yeah, they did a 1-3-1 zone, which I think we've been successful again, but we just haven't seen it this year, and it froze us a little bit. We actually had some good looks by driving into the paint, and then we made some substitutions, and it just froze. It was actually a zone, and once we got to the corners, it became a man. And so our ability to recognize defenses that could also change mid-possession, that's good for our growth as well. It was good to see, and as crazy as it was, something different that I think we'll handle better in the future. But those are guys going through those experiences for the first time. But I think I think we're just about the truth. We'll tell you what you're doing well, what we need to do better at. And we win or lose, we go back and watch the film and grind and stat and give them the notes and the feedback that they need. But for sure, we're getting better. We're not there. We need to stay hungry to improve because we need to improve. But turnovers is a big part of our focal point right now.
Over time, have you had, can you separate guys? Some guys, and I use Justin Webster as a great example because he's been around it. He's been coached. He takes coaching well. He's used to it. Do some guys struggle with that? I mean, struggle with the constant effort to improve them?
I think everybody's different, and I think we have to. That's why I think our approach is the best. I know as a player, you always want to hear the truth. We don't ever say anything behind your back. We go right to you, and we don't, as you know, say anything publicly to ever throw a player under the bus. So that's a great deal. There's some places you might have that whole deal in complete opposite. Right. And so that's East Coast background, whatever it is, being direct. I think the great players always want that, and I think sometimes young players they need to get used to it. But you could see our guys are better and they're improved, and because they need to know where they stand for them, for us to get where we need to get. But like you have a great mentioning Justin Webster. He's as good as I've been around in that regard. I mean, he never hangs his head. He's consistent with his attitude and demeanor, and that's a credit to him and who he's been around, but that's also why he's improving. It's not too complicated a formula.
We have another texter. This is Jim from Manoa. Last guy I didn't mention, it was Mason on a Facebook, but this is Jim, and he says, in regards to recruiting, I heard we have one commit so far that can play forward. Any more expected, and at what positions?
Yeah, we're recruiting hard, and we're getting ahead for next year. This is such a unique year because of the ability for these guys to come back. And then you have, people see we have 11 guys on our team right now, but there's some guys who have opted out. And there's a guy like Bernardo who will be healthier next year. So I can't comment. I can't wait, as you know, till I'm allowed to comment on guys we've signed. That will happen in April during signing period. But I know I can comment on what we're trying to do to complement this team to continue to improve in the future. So I like what we have. I like where we're headed. I like what we have coming back. I think we'd like to continue to add another inside presence on both ends. And I know we have multiple guards already in our program and multi-positional wings. So I think right now that size inside, that presence, and maybe best available wild card that can complement those. Obviously, we'll always look for shooting.
Well, there's bigs and there are bigs. And I think it looks like you kind of got away. You have some size, but it's sort of rangy size. It's sort of, I don't know, small forward size, I guess you would say. Even though some guys, like a Justin Hemsley, if pressed, can step up and play a 4. I'm curious, do you have a preference? I mean, do you insist, after having a couple of plotters at the bigs, I mean, a couple of guys who were really big, but they weren't fast, they couldn't run the floor, the feet were slow. Are you getting away from that philosophically into a more athletic type at the big spots?
I think we're looking at both. I mean, obviously when you can bring some size, that fits what we want to do, but some of that size, if it's it's like you said, a little bit plotting, or maybe they're not allowing us to spread the floor at times or run. And we kind of like what we have going on right now. And you look at what we have coming back. I mean, Mate is a true 5. James is playing some 5 and some 4. Bernardo would be playing some 5. He's not the girth that these other guys have, even though he's gotten bigger. But we're probably looking for a guy who can, we've had some issues right now because of the front court depth, defending the post 101 and just finishing everything around the basket. I think we're getting better. But you also look at a guy like Mate, who's in his 100th year in our program. Eventually he's going to leave our program. So I think we're looking at some, we'll have some veteran guys in the front court and looking at bringing some young guys we can develop as well.
Okay, Mate, though, is very unusual for a 7-footer because he runs the floor, in my opinion, maybe better than any big I can remember here. I mean, certainly 6'10" or above. No one's ever run the floor like him.
Best in the league. Best I've coached. I mean, this is a guy who ran a 5.05 or 5.09 mile, something crazy, which is beating guards. And you could see it and that's why we have a push. He presents something for himself or for our shooters in the corners because you have to honor him running right down the middle. So, the great thing is he's added other parts to his game. He's improved as a rebounder. He's improved as a defender. He's finishing better around the basket. He's just having some more breakthrough performances that are building his confidence. And you can tell how much people here love him and the guys love him. It's just great to see a team come together and improve. And certainly he's been at the forefront of that improvement.
I wanted to get to this because even though, and we talked about this a little bit this morning, even though I thought the efforts that was tremendous and the execution was much better, over this past weekend, it's funny to say with a 16 and a 17-point win, but it wasn't far from perfect. I mean, I thought we identified, just talking this morning, several areas that could be much improved, and I think will be much improved.
Yeah, no, I think when you're talking about chipping away at something, making these improvements, it doesn't happen overnight. We just got to make sure we're moving in the right direction. I think we did. I think we talked a lot about maintaining our defensive effort, our scrap, our hustle, our grit. And I think that went away just a little bit, to be honest, defensively. We've done a really good job on the glass over, the last several weeks, and we need to keep that going. But the challenge was to maintain that and start to evolve offensively, execute better. And I think we took a step, but certainly a lot to improve on. And we're looking forward to these practices. Too many turnovers, too many bad fouls that forced us with only 11 guys. It's a tough depth situation. Also put teams on the line when they were struggling to score. So a combination of those things and a good week of practice, hopefully we'll take another step.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. Paul is here. Paul, you're on with Coach Eran.
Well, hi, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call. Hi, Coach. How you doing? Good going with these last games where everyone's excited. I have another question. another type of question. I know some of our players they're opted out for COVID, and God bless them. God bless you and the team. I was just wondering, what are there still any kind of expectations? Are they expected? Can they practice, and can they show up to the home games? And I'll listen off the air. Thank you.
No, it's a great question. I mean, the opt-out is a new thing, obviously, with the COVID situation. When you opt out, but you could see two situations. You have two opt-outs, and you have one in Bernardo who's basically out for the year, but he's still on the team. So the opt-out by the NCAAs, they maintain their scholarship, and they can maintain communication, obviously, but they're not allowed to continue to be in workouts and at games, things like that. It's unique. That's part of we're learning about it, obviously, and we had some people have had that nationally. We've had too. So in the meantime, like we said, we've been supportive because this is a unique situation. It challenges guys in different ways, and we're following from afar, and we're moving forward with this group we have.
Paul, I hope that answers your question. And we encourage you. You can call us and on the radio if you like, as Paul just did, or you can text in on Facebook Live. And either way, you can get a hold of Coach Eran Ganot. Well, this is going to be, I think, an interesting challenge. And this has been the case all year. Look at UCSB's record. They're 12-3 overall. They're 6-2 in conference. Well, you guys are 5-5 in conference, but basically you only have two other games, and they're against Division II opponents. So 7-5 overall. You have not played as many games as UCSB has wins.
Yeah, it's just unique, and you see that everywhere nationally. You're watching these scores and watching these leagues, and 10 games. You're usually thinking we're about ready to start conference play. 12 games overall. So and you feel a little bit of the lack of practice, because they're 10 games during league. As you know, when we travel back and forth every other week, we don't practice as much. We have to, and even now with only 11 guys, you're kind of navigating this need and desire to keep improving in an efficient way and keeping them fresh. So, but I think the guys have handled it as well as we could. I think our staff has been tremendous. I know our staff in terms of the preparation, not just for opponents, but on the offensive, defensive, the rebounding side. I think this group has room to continue to grow, but I appreciate how everybody, and I'm talking about our medical team, has worked together collaboratively to give us the opportunity, even though we may have not had as much as we'd like, but we know we're blessed to have what we have.
Well, do we have time for one more caller before break? Nope, I got to take a break. So we asked Shane to stay on the line. We'll take this quick time out. This is Call the Coach.
Hey, my name's James, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A's Grilled Spicy Deluxe is the first bite, you get a little kick of spice, and then that cilantro and lime sauce that kind of balances things out. Just delicious.
Hey, I'm Amber. A little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A new Grilled Spicy Deluxe is how well all of the ingredients complement each other. It's so good. I bob my head side to side, dancing while I eat.
Chick-fil-A's Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich, available for a limited time only. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
In Hawaii, we know that good food brings people together, and great food takes time. That's why at Popeyes, we slow marinate our chicken to give it that savory Cajun crunch. Stop in and get 9 pieces of our famous fried chicken, mild or spicy, for just $18. Make it a complete meal and add 2 large signature sides and 4 buttermilk biscuits for just $10 more. Visit Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen in Kalihi, Salt Lake, Waipahu, Mililani, Kapahulu, and Pearl City.
You're listening to Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu 92.7 FM and 1420 AM.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot. UCSB coming in for Friday and Saturday games. I guess I should always give the coda if everything goes according to plan, because we have seen, not to Hawaii, I mean, there's been no incidents and accidents, and I knock on wood when I say that, because I think not only do you have to really pay attention to the protocols, which your guys have, but it takes a little bit of luck, obviously, and you've had both so far.
Yeah, and we continue to remind our guys, I've said it, I'll say it, keep saying it, we're repetitive, but no heat checks with the COVID, obviously. We need to continue, we're blessed to do what we do. We need to continue to not take that lightly. Look, it's crazy. A week from, or 5 weeks from yesterday will be Selection Sunday. and it goes quick. So we better enjoy this ride by continuing to be responsible.
Let me get to UCSB because Joe Pasternak's now been a couple of years in the conference, and I'm curious how you would describe their culture and their style of coaching since he's taken over.
Well, I think they've done a great job, and Santa Barbara in general has been historically a really good program. They haven't had a lot of turnover in staff. Bob Williams was there for a long time. Before that, Jerry Pym. That's 3 coaches in like 40 years, and so they've done a nice job. And I think over the years, with Joe, they've been really good, balanced on both sides of the ball. They've been good on the glass. They've combined bringing in some guys they've developed with some really good transfers, and I think they've won 20 games a year the last 3 years. So, and obviously off to a good start this year. So and we've had battles with them. Obviously, we won at our place last year. We lost at their place this year, and it's exciting. Like, this is what you live for. You want to play a team that's peaking, that's playing at their best. That's exactly what we're, as competitors you want.
You have mentioned Jakoy Mcglock, and he was the Oregon State transfer that has done good things since he arrived at UCSB. I think Amadou Sow is one of the most agile bigs in the entire league. One of the problems he presents for your guys, especially with your depth situation, is the possibility of foul trouble.
Yeah, he's hurt us in the past, and when they've been successful against us, he's been a key part of that. So you're talking about a guy like So, who's coming back. He's leading the league in rebounding. You got Robinson Edahan, who's backed him up, back again. You got Jay Nagel off the bench, who's in his 3rd year. A skilled 4-man. Then they add Miles Norris, the transfer from Oregon, who's a dynamic and a tough matchup. And so you complement that with experienced guard play. Deverell Ramsey's been there. He's doing a really good job running the team. Ramsey can play, McLaughlin can play the point, can shoot. I mean, he's shooting. I think he's doing what Webster did last week for the year. He's shooting 50 from 3, and his assist ratio is phenomenal. So it's a really dynamic team that presents a lot of challenges.
Okay, Shane, you're up. I'm sorry, I forgot about you briefly, but you're up with Eran Ganot right now.
Oh, hi, Bobby. Hi, Coach. I know you guys are talking about the point guards, and I'm real happy to see Mcclanahan coming along. I know in junior college he averaged like 24 a game, and shot, I think, Bobby, you said it was 40-50% from 3 in junior college.
He's 45 from 3, yeah.
45%. Yeah, and so, as far as playing under control, I think he said he had no turnovers, 7 assists, but we haven't really seen the scoring yet. So, Coach, I was wondering, what do you see in him moving forward, in the future? Do you see him as a scoring point guard or more of a facilitator, or what kind of a role do you see him evolving into?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think point guard play has really evolved over the years, and you want that to be a guy who can score there. I mean, I think he said it after the game. I heard that he said they asked him about that, and he said, I'm a playmaker. And, facilitator kind of just runs the team. And I remember when we came here, Roderick Bobby was scoring 8 a game, and we challenged him because I thought he had scoring in him. And then he scored 13, 14 a game. He had 3 30-point games. Right. Drew Buggs was probably more facilitator, but he still scored a little bit. I think Vaughn is just chipping away at things as he gets comfortable. This is his first year. So, number one, we challenged him defensively. He's improved there. Then number 2, he's getting comfortable in our stuff. I said assist ratio is over 2 to 1, and obviously 7 to 0. The next check is obviously the shooting, and we know he's capable of shooting. I think he sees a guy like Webster shooting 50-plus from 3 and Kasdan shooting 50-plus from 3. You got Junior running the lanes. Who I think can shoot better than he has shot as well, and I expect him to. And I think he's trying to find his way. But Vaughn that's the next phase for him. I think he's progression. Obviously, we'd like him to shoot better. He'd like to shoot better. And I know the good thing is I know he's capable of it. And I feel like that's going to come.
Right. So I was kind of wondering, a lot of the scorers and shooters, like Sharif, Drame, and, Eddie Stansbury, they kind of had that bombs away mentality where no conscience, they could go 0 for 10, but their next shot's going in. I'm wondering if he has that same mentality, or is he just trying to fit in right now with the system and with the team?
Well, it's tough. Those guys didn't have to go through that progression as point guards, really, and he's being thrown in the fire, and he had less time than any of these guys. So the combination of less time first year, out for 4 weeks. I just think it stalled his progression. But, I think we're going to work with him on continuing to get ready to shoot, get game shots in practice, because he's going to get, and a lot of the guys are going to get some of that, because you're not going to leave the way Webster's shooting, and he shot for his career. I think Junior is a good shooter. I think and now we bring out Mate and James to let them shoot the ball, because they can shoot it, obviously. So I think he's just finding his way. But no, I think he's got a quiet confidence about him. You never see him hang his head. He's got great belief. I mean, Go watch his interviews. I mean, the guy's oozing with confidence. So I don't know if he's shy about shooting it again. I know he wants to do well. I don't know if I've seen a guy or someone less shy or not shy at all like Eddie Stansbury. So I don't know if that's a good comparison either. But I do feel like he's a confident player.
Okay, and just my personal observation, I really love Biwali Bales. I love his game. I love the way he plays. He's aggressive. His court vision, I think he's athletic. Maybe, in time he'll learn how to play a little more under control. But I think if he sticks around for 4 years, we got ourselves a good one.
No, I appreciate that. I love all our guys, but I gravitate towards guys like Biwali with how hard he plays. And, sometimes his turnovers can be magnified. You feel like there are 10 of them, but he's 22 assists, 11 turnovers in the league. Some of his look really bad because he's playing so hard and so aggressively in an attack mode. But I think he's been a big spark plug to get us going to this mode since, in the last 3 weeks. The effort he has played with has been contagious. His energy is talking. I mean, I think he can barely sit down on the bench during games. You can see him going crazy, standing. Yeah. We love him to death, and I think he's got a really bright future. I love the fact that these guys are fearless, and I think they're going against some experienced guards, and the flurry of them that we're throwing at teams, and the way they're complimenting each other and supporting each other, it's great to watch. And I just feel like they're all. I said earlier in the year there have been flashes. But I feel like now they're flashes at the same time. That's great.
Right.
Hey, Ron, we're going to have to take a quick time out. Shane, we thank you for the call. You are listening to Call the Coach.
Well, what you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homie fall-proof gear.
Ano bubble wrap and duct tape going work?
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. You okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting smoking hot in here.
Oh, no.
It's raining over here. How many pop water stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future. When you feel like Vegas, there's just one place to stay. Grab a drink at the Holo Holo Bar. There's just one place to play. We got a fresh, hot look, a new sports book. We got those local meals, just like Auntie cooks. Aloha spoken here.
Complete 4 and 5 night packages starting from $699. Vacations away, our favorite connection to Vegas.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
Welcome back to our Monday edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot. There has been real progress, I think, and to me, it's sort of a tipping point was maybe that team meeting after the first game at Cal State Fullerton. You guys lose by 12. Just didn't seem like guys were, had sort of found their rhythm. It just didn't look comfortable. Well, that Saturday game was just off to the races, and it really hasn't changed since. There's been a complete difference in the intensity level, and the execution is gradually getting better. It had to be very gratifying to see the switch sort of come on for a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I remember that we met in the locker room, and then the group met again, obviously in the hotel, and then their approach the next day. And since, I think it was more like the execution took a back burner a little bit. It was about our heart and effort, desire, and we were going to live with some other things. And so now we were back into going in the right direction. For us to make the next step was to maintain that and flow offensively. And so I think we took a step, like we talked about that. But it's a credit to the guys. I mean, for them to go through what they're going through, I know they care. We got great kids and they're pleasers, and they were trying to at times, I think, do things on their own unintentionally because they want to do so well. But their trust with each other, their comfort, as you know, they all play better when you play off your instincts. And now they're a little more comfortable with everything, and they're playing off their instincts. It's fun to watch, and I think it's going to continue to improve.
I mean, some of the hustle plays that I saw in the games just recently against Cal Poly. I mean, big guys. I mean, Mate diving on the floor. Kasdan made an incredible play, deflecting the ball from a guard, Stevenson, and getting down on it. And then from flat out, he kind of pushes a pass to a streaking Justin Webster. That was a highlight reel play.
No, you know what? I think a lot of it is we actually talked a little bit about what we're about as a program. And at the heart of it, yeah, teams will say Hawaii shares the ball, they play together, but at the heart of it, we play hard. And even the history of the program is known for playing hard. So we have a lot of people, it's 101 years, we better do that. And it's not just one guy, that's the great thing. Everybody is making 50-50 plays. The boards are the ultimate 50-50 play, but then there's the loose balls, taking charges. Look at our bench. You know, a lot of teams have one or two guys are those kind of guys. We've challenged our guys, and they've stepped up that every single guy is going to get on the floor. I think one of the biggest plays in the game was James diving on the floor.
Yes.
It was a close game. It was 22-20, something like that, and James made a play, and that fired up him, and it fired up our whole bench, and we kind of fed off that the rest of the way.
We have from our Facebook section, Donard had this question. Who is Coach Gennot's inspiration in the coaching world?
That's a tough question. I mean, there's a lot of in the coaching world. I mean, I've always talked about that I admire what the Spurs have done and Greg Popovich in terms of the consistency and building a pro. That's the heart of it, is what you want to do. You want to build sustained success, and they've done it longer than anybody in all four sports. So I think I've always and we've had guys we obviously are very familiar with playing for them. And obviously a guy who I recruited at St. Mary's and worked for us as a GA is now working for them, you know. So just to follow it from afar, to see it up close, because I've been fortunate enough to go there every couple of years other than, you know, this COVID world. It's really awesome to see a group come together and be so professional, so skilled, and so consistent. And I think he's at the forefront of that. So we're hoping to model that in our version here.
And Eran, just to say, because you've had other influences that are a little closer to home, Randy Bennett and Riley, of course, and some of the guys even back to your coach in college. I mean, I know there's other people that have also been influential.
Well, I think that's from afar when I talk about Pop, like as a young kid and even getting into coaching and things like that. But internally, it's always like my parents, my dad, you know, you can tell my relationship and the reverence I have for people I played for or worked under. I mean, my college coach who was at the school for 20 plus years is retired. He'll come by. You know, then getting my start as a volunteer for 3 years under Randy Bennett, who I think is one of the best in the country. And I think there's a lot of what they do with the Spurs in terms of look at the sustained excellence and the player development and the sharing of the ball, the way the game's supposed to be played. And then I get so lucky. Just the 1 year I could have learned from Riley Wallace was the 1 year I got to be here because it was his final year. And Bob Nash and Jackson Wheeler and the guys I've coached, El Vadova. I mean, you learn from so many different guys. I learn from our guys every day. Look at the guys on our staff over the years, Adam Jacobson, Chris Acker. These are future head coaches, John, Jabari, Jesse, Chris Gurlifson. It's incredible. So I don't have enough time to talk about these guys, but I've been blessed to, if there's one thing I've figured out is to do what you love, but do it and make sure you're around the right people. And I have been around that. I'm continuing to be around that. But, you know, obviously the biggest, you know, you talk about Randy Bennett, I was with him for 8 years. That's a long time. And I've only been to 2 schools in 18 years of coaching. And you go from, those are the 2 winningest coaches at their school, Riley Wallace, Randy Bennett. And I just never take it lightly. And that's why I hold reverence for them, not just because of their performance, but the way they roll.
Feel free, if you have a question for Eran, if it's on radio, you can just call 296-1420, or you can text it on Facebook Live. One of the things that you have challenging in front of you, Eran, and I know this, no coach likes this. I do think on limited samples, it's tough to draw conclusions, but since the year that you guys went to the NCAA, your first year here, and then you went and you beat Cal, which was the first NCAA win in the program history. One unfortunate thing, and even though the games have been, for the most part, very close, you guys have not done well in recent tournaments. It's been pretty much one and out since. And what do you attribute that to? Do you just look at that as it's a very small sample and sort of kind of just look at it that way, or do you think other things apply?
I think a lot of things apply. I'd be lying if I said it doesn't consume you in some ways, and that's okay. I think the great part of what we do is you've been on, we're on both sides of it. Tough wins, tough losses, great wins, great, things like that. And, I know the second year we had the band, we didn't even know we were going to play until, as you know, a couple of days before the tournament. That group battled, and one of the groups I'm most proud of. The next year we made that next step, and here we go. We're playing Irvine, and we're up 10 with 4.5 to go. It's almost like what happened to Irvine reverse this year for them. So, and then the following year we play Long Beach State, and again, I think you're up late, and I feel like we've always been really good executing. A bunch of things went the wrong way, and they made shots, we missed shots. It's crazy, and it's a humbling experience. And then last year we didn't even get to. Last year I thought was the first year. We've had a weird thing the last couple of years. We lost Eddie Stansbury the day before the last game. We lost Leland Green. We lost Jack Persis in 3 consecutive years. But last year we had Samuta and Bernardo coming back going into the conference tournament. So it was a little bit like, okay, we had some of those setbacks earlier in the year. Now we're really ready to roll. And I thought we were playing our best basketball and didn't get the opportunity to even play. So I think you look at those, and I'm telling you, win or loss, you know the deal. You go back to work and you win or loss. It's crazy that you look at things, you can do better. I could have done better, and you learn and grow from it. But it's a lot of heartache, and to be honest, that's why I love what we do. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be doing it, and I'm looking forward to just the opportunity to keep working with this group to make sure we're peaking.
We have a text. Kevin from Kalihi texts in, now that there's a vaccine circulating, any possibility of Samuta rejoining the team? Also, what are you going after with recruiting?
Great questions. We'll see, what the vaccine means for all of us and when, but I think the opt-out situation with Samuta and Cameron is what it is. We're moving forward with this group. Well, like I said earlier, we're following them and hopefully staying engaged and excited about their progress for the future. Same with Bernardo. Bernardo is not going to be with us. We have 11 guys. That's our team. And we're going to make sure these 11 guys are continuing to do, and that's why I think they're doing a great job, but continue to do a great job to keep moving forward and getting better. Recruiting-wise, I've talked about earlier, but I'll say it again, that combination, you return a guy like Samuta, you return a guy like Bernardo, you have these young guards a year under the belt. That's the great thing. They might be thrown in the fire, but they're already reaping rewards early this year, and I think that will help them next year, but certainly a presence inside, and we're always looking for shooting.
Okay, and that answers that. Here's another texter. This is Gene from IAEA. Congratulations, Coach, on the sweep this past week. And assuming Bernardo gets back up to speed, do you think a lineup with him at the 5 and Jean Marie at the 4?
I think that's what we were, when Bernardo's kind of been in and out. And so James had to play a lot of the 5 because we only had him and Mate. Then Bernardo kind of came back, and we were hoping to be able to play James at the 4 and the 5 because he's good at both. And he presents a different kind of cover at both. But I'll say it again, unfortunately, Bernardo will not be with us. I think it's only something crazy happens with his improvement. It's disappointing. He's had a couple of these over the years. We're going to be smart about it because of how bright his future is. We've worked with him and the medical team, but it's not looking good. And so just be very clear on that. Bernardo, we do not expect Bernardo to be back with us this year.
Okay, so it's kind of a wait till next year, get him healthy and get him prepped for a great next season is sort of the approach.
Yeah, and he's attacking his treatment and his rehab. We could have certainly used him. I mean, everything changed, and that's why I feel proud of this group. You're expecting Samuta and Bernardo And it's not just that that's a wing and a front court depth, but also they were two guys who we could lean on for experience, and it didn't happen. And so I know there were some growing pains, and these guys were all kind of throwing the fire at the same time, but I'm really appreciative of how they handled it. The last game presented the first situation this year, even though we've prepared for it, where we had foul trouble from our two bigs. And so you will see Kaz and Justin Hemsley playing some 4 and 5 if needed. And I think if Bion and Zor, those guys can help us. And they needed these practices, but all 11, again, we only have 11, need to be and have been ready to go.
Well, you guys also, with Amadou Sow and Dahan coming off the bench, I mean, there are a couple of big-bodied bigs that makes you think, guys are going to have to be really judicious on how they defend in the post this week, because you don't want to be in the same situation you were last week.
No, and we played as deep a team in the country inside in Irvine, and we did a really good job of that. But we didn't have the silly fouls, and we had so many, like we've clipped up our fouls. The amount of silly fouls from, especially in the front court, really hurt us. And even really to start the second half, I mean, Mate and James couldn't have picked up fouls 3 and 4 quicker. So I thought the group did a good job for a stretch navigating through that until Karoma got loose on the offensive boards. Then we went back and kind of hung in there to finish the game. I don't know how they both finished the game until Mate decided just for good measure to throw one other foul up there. But they did a good job, and Kaz played some 5, and Hemsley was ready to play some 5. And, I thought at times maybe that could be a tough lineup to cover on the other end.
I thought it was interesting because you talk about how guys handle fouling out. Riley Till fouled out for the other team, and it took him forever to get off the court. I was like, finally the official had to say, son, it's time, and which was really amusing because when Mate got his 5th foul, he was off the court before you could blink.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be 15 or 20 seconds, not 2 minutes. So I think they give you, as you know, over the years, like, here's 5th foul. You got time to figure out kind of who you want to put in. But
yes,
obviously it was milked. And to be honest, with our situation depth-wise, we were okay with it.
All right, so there was no complaining on that one. Let it go as it must. We need to take a quick timeout. Let's do that. We'll be right back on Call the Coach.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Iconic rivalries in America, brought to you by the History Channel's documentary series, The Food That Built America, premiering Sunday, February 14th at 9/8 Central. The longest rivalry in pro football began in 1921 with the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. At the same time, a rivalry in the chocolate industry brought us 2 of the most iconic candy bars in American history. Tune in to the History Channel's documentary series, The Food That Built America, premiering Sunday, February 14th at 9/8 Central.
You're listening to Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu 92.7 FM and 1420 AM.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Call the Coach with Rainbow Warrior head coach Eran Ganot. We have told people if you want to call us at 296-1420. Cousin Eddie on the line.
Bobby, hi, Coach Gennad.
Go ahead, Eddie.
The previous caller, I was wondering if Samuta Vea was going to come back next year, and then we would have Bernardo da Silva. And the positive thing is that the other guys get more experience, so it kind of makes us better. And could you thank Mcclanahan for coming back? And so you asked who inspired Coach Carnot. Can I tell you a quick story about Coach Carnot? At a volleyball game, I was with my mom, and she's like 85 years old. And she wanted nachos, and Coach Carnot and his daughter came up the steps, and he sat with my mom the whole time. In the line, there was 37 people in line for the nachos. And that's pretty unreal, you know. So, and she tells everybody that story all the time if they bring up his name. But Good luck for the rest.
I
really
remember
miss
that.
Not being able to come
Tell her we said hi.
I will. But congratulations on doing well in the COVID thing. It's a bummers can't go, but good luck
I
for the rest
appreciate
of the
it.
season.
No, we miss it. I'll tell you this. We miss, my daughter runs on the court after every game, and we go to every UH event, and we sit in the stands all the time. And I feel like we know everybody around, or looking forward to meeting new friends all the time. And just not having that opportunity is tough. And it's certainly tough for families because it's such a great family-friendly event. But I know we'll be there soon. I know I speak for my family and our whole staff and our players that we all miss it, but we're using that to inspire us for guys who can watch from afar.
Okay, thank you for being our coach, Coach Gennad.
All right, Eddie, thank you for that's a good call. It's funny, people forget sometimes, and we're say this is a large city in Honolulu, but in many ways, it's quite a small town and a small, intimate community. And I don't know that there's ever a time you feel that as much as when you're at UH games.
No, quite, and that's why I enjoy going to the. First of all, we have great teams in every sport, great coaches, great student athletes, and to be able to take my family to those events, I love it because during our games, you're so locked in. You don't get to, so when we get to go to the stand or the Aloha Stadium or anywhere, and we take our teams, as you know, a lot, it's awesome. And so it's been tough to not have that, and we feel everybody's pain in that regard. But I just appreciate how much work people are doing to keep our student athletes healthy and competing.
No, I'm not able to do that. Campus is essentially closed down, so I'm sure this is kind of stopped. But I remember stopping up early last. It was maybe shortly after Todd Graham got hired, and I'd come in to see you and sit down. We're talking a little bit, and Coach Graham just pokes his head in. He comes in and talks. I mean, there's sort of a camaraderie in the athletic department's third floor when everybody's kind of in and out and wishing each other the best. It's kind of a nice convivial atmosphere.
I think it's awesome. I think that's your family isn't just your program. It's the whole athletics department's a fan. The university, you're seeing President Lassner at some of our games when he's allowed to go. But even out in the offices, it's different because everybody's being really careful, and it's right. Yeah. But I certainly miss the opportunity to go by every coach. I have so much respect for all the coaches we have, the staffs we have, the administration. People are working behind the scenes hard to, like I said, give us the opportunities we have. It's not like it was. But it will be one day, and I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, let me just get a couple. We have only a few minutes left, but let me get to a couple of basketball things. I don't know if you ever feel this way, but when you feel like you haven't given your best shot against a particular team, and my feeling was Hawaii did not give Cal State Bakersfield its best shot. Do you ever feel that, like, yeah, maybe it would be nice to get another shot at those guys? Do you kind of feel that way, or do you just say, rule that out, and the next one up, and that's that?
I think it's next one in the back of your head that's always there. I mean, I can remember when our first year, like, that team couldn't wait to play Irvine because of what happened the year before. And then we swept Irvine that year, and we're watching the league championship. And we had been, we were 13-3 in the Big West, but we were swept by Long Beach, and Long Beach was playing Irvine, and that team was rooting hard for Long Beach because they wanted to play Long Beach. Long Beach had swept it. We hadn't been Long Beach. So the most competitors are like that. We play Bakersfield, we have a lot of respect for. They're the oldest, most experienced team at a time that it's always important, but even more so now. And that was, our third Division I game. Do I think we're better since then? Yes. Do I think they're better since then? Yes. Do I look forward to an opportunity to play that team again? Absolutely. And I know our guys do, but that is absolutely, we're next game. That's the biggest game, but that stuff never leaves the back of your head.
Right. I still remember in the championship year when you went to the NCAA, if I remember correctly, you had lost in the regular season twice to Long Beach that year. Is that not correct? And then played them in the tournament final. And I mean, when it came down, and if I was to tell somebody, maybe the biggest shot made in that game might have been Nicky Filipovic. Who would have thought that? I mean, things happen, and I guess people are just ready for the moment because that was a terrific win. And I had a feeling that you guys felt like you owed one to Long Beach State.
I think at that stage of the year, you could feel it with our group. Like we felt we were going to win every game. It's just and teams evolve that way. You know, even during the early success, it wasn't quite like that. But there was a moment where we felt, that group kind of felt unstoppable. Playing a 4 seed, playing Maryland. I mean, they didn't go there, afraid. They went there to get it done. We didn't get it done against Maryland, but I love, we've had groups that have hit that point, and I'm looking forward to getting this group there.
This is a texter, Dennis, and here it is. Coach, my eyes tell me Junior Madut and James Jean Marie should be starters. Are you bringing them off the bench to give you a big lift? Also, I love the depth of the team, and you play a lot of guys. That's great. Good luck.
No, good question. I think we can play different starters. I think some years we've had the same starter for every game. And I think personally I'd prefer that. But this year's dynamics and circumstances have made things flip around a little bit. Now, obviously, and I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's not too complicated. I said it after the games. Those two didn't meet certain expectations. They came off the bench, and guys had. And that's about it. And I'll appreciate their contributions off the bench, and they still play similar amount of minutes. But there are things that we need to address, and we address it in the moment. That's why we don't have many of these like other people, let's say. And we learn, we grow, we educate, there are consequences, and we go from there. But I think I love the fact that we can go to different combinations and play different groups as well.
In terms of what you look forward to, and there's only a handful of teams right now. We haven't seen Long Beach this year. We haven't seen UC Davis. I know they've really been beset by the COVID thing. Not always them, but sometimes the people they were playing. As you mentioned before, that can be just as bad as if it was in your program. And then you're going to have CSUN. So after UCSB, you won't play another team, it looks like, that'll have a winning slate in conference.
Yeah, now how could you determine? Like, some of that's just a little bit misleading because some teams have played 2 or 3. Davis is picked to be top 3 or 4 going into the league, and they've had so many interruptions. But like right now, they might be one of the most dangerous teams out there because they have Ezra Mannion, they have those freshmen are a year older, and you could see that they're going through what we went through maybe a couple of weeks ago. But you know what their potential is. Long Beach has played 4 league games. It's just this year. I don't think you can. I know groups are dangerous. Northridge has Starks, who's one of the leading scorers in our league, and they brought in some transfers. They have an elite point guard who's very experienced there. So I don't know if right now teams are trying to peak at the right time, and teams will make bigger jumps maybe than other years just because of the circumstances.
Some of these things are a little scary because you don't know. And I know the test, I think if I have it right, you usually test Monday, Wednesday, and the day you arrive, right? Or maybe it's Sunday and Tuesday, but you test the day you arrive, like when you get to the mainland, correct?
Yeah, when we come back, we test Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. When we go there, we're testing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Right.
Sorry, Monday. Yeah, Sunday. I can't remember. I can't keep up.
But
I know we test 3 times a week.
And certainly, I think I have it down because I've been talking to various people but I think you test the day you might arrive. If you get in Wednesday night, you'll test Thursday morning.
That's right.
And so, which is interesting because I don't know how much anxiety you have, but it's both waiting for your results and for your opponent's results.
We got this thing where we're just, you don't take it lightly. I know we're on a good little stretch right now, but I'm still, like I've talked to you before, I'm waiting for us. We're on this thread, like, okay, all negative. Then I look at my phone, other team is negative. Refs are good. All right, now we're good. And you feel really good, though, when you just get onto the floor for the game.
Right, because you're really not completely positive until that happens.
Yeah, but I feel better about it, but I'm still looking to that phone when I get the word because there's different parties involved. Like I said, of us, them, officials. You're just really excited. I'll say we feel better that, our first time we were supposed to play league games this year, we had them canceled with Cal Poly. Then we were really hesitant, and then we went on our first trip. So I feel like we have as good a plan in place when we're here, when we're on the road, to give us our best chance to keep playing.
These are some of the things that I think if you're not in the program or traveling with the team, you would never know about, but that are different this year. For example, when it was Thursday, on a Thursday-Saturday game, on Wednesday when Wednesday night before the game, there's usually a pretty nice team dinner. Everybody goes out. You guys pick the restaurant. That was always so much fun, and they do it again on Friday night on the 2 nights. So, I mean, those things were really good bonding occasions. And now, what are guys now eating in their rooms?
Yeah, we bring it up to their rooms. You really don't mess around. Now, the trip is a day shorter. We have a good time with what we're allowed to do, but we're really dialed in terms of how we're going about everything. So I feel like we still eat well. We take care of our bodies. We practice well, but once we're outside of the game or the practice time, it's pretty much, or film, it's pretty much locked up. And, they've done a good job with it. I'll say that. I miss that. As you know, it's such a great time to be around your guys. Nothing brings people together like food, and we eat a lot. So we still eat a lot, but not as much together.
All right. Well, that's going to, for some of your guys who are first-year players, next year likely to be a revelation because they can't even imagine what it's going to be like.
No, it's great to hear the returners tell the guys, I think we've done as good a job as we can with the situation. I think guys are appreciative, but the returners will tell them, wait till you see, hopefully next year, what it's like. And because these are good group of guys, and they're awesome to be around. And it'd be great if they can be around each other and around us more, but it's the sacrifice we all have to make right now.
Well, next week we're going to do this again on Monday night. We'll have had the big series against UCSB to chat about, and then you'll be going back on the road, presumably. And, it's funny. It's been one of these seasons. Who knew that we were going to have all of these home series here in a row simply because of what broke down with UCSD. And then, of course, with Cal Poly coming. Eran, believe it or not, we are just about out of time here. Can't thank you enough for coming on. Good luck this weekend, and we'll do it again next Monday.
I appreciate it as always. Always enjoyed and looking forward to the next one. Thanks, Bobby.
Eran Ganot, head coach for the University of Hawaii. From all of us, I'm Bobby Curran. Aloha.
That's my guy.
This has been Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu. Brought to you by HGEA, IBEW Local 1186, by the Hawaii Building and Construction Trades Council, and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union.